Alrighty, everybody. Well, again, I'm Chris Lukenbill. I'm from Rochester, Minnesota. So a little ways away. The nice thing about being able to be remotely is that we're able to travel around the region a little bit here and tell people about what we're working on. So I appreciate this opportunity to be able to share this with your community and be able to tell you a little bit more about what we're working on. We're starting to actually work our way into Iowa as well. So it'll be applicable to your communities also. So again, today I'm going to tell you about Sherpa. And so here at Sherpa, we love discovering amazing adventures throughout Minnesota and beyond. And what better way to explore than with the help of a local? So that's why there's Sherpa, adventures created by locals, experienced by you. So I'm excited to announce that not only do we love Minnesota, but Minnesota loves us back. As part of the Minnesota Cup, we were named the most innovative Greater Minnesota startup. In addition, we finished third in the high tech division in the Minnesota Cup and first in the U1 Ignite Cup. So why does Minnesota love us? Well, it's because we're addressing a big problem that we all face. Let's face it, the only problem with vacations is planning them. When people have a day off work to be able to get away from their computer, they don't want to spend 3 hours of that day combing through review sites, blog posts, things to do listings. They need a vacation from that. In fact, 42% of millennials say that planning is one of the biggest stresses of traveling, and others are trying their best to help. Airbnb offers guided experiences, but requiring someone to go with you as a guide really limits the amount of experiences that they can provide. And our local visitors bureaus, they do their best to highlight their members, but oftentimes they end up creating a directory that provides the same information that you can already find from a Google search. We still have to do all of the planning. So that's why there's Sherpa. Sherpa enables travelers to discover experiences by removing the uncertainty of exploring a new community or new places in your own community. Sherpa's platform connects travelers with self-guided adventures created by locals. So it all starts with a discovery. People find our adventures either on Sherpa.com or through one of our partner sites like you see here. After clicking in to one of them that interests them, they can learn a little bit more about what to expect, what to bring, and what type of adventure this is. Finally, clicking in to explore will guide them through each one of the stops, helping them to get the most out of their adventure as they're given guidance on what they should be looking forward to at each one of these locations. And again, this is a multi-stop adventure. So you're not just going to one place. This isn't boiling it down to just a star rating on each one of these locations. This is pulling it together in a full experience. And this is where everyone is finding these adventures currently. We started here in Minnesota, but we're putting the pieces together to be able to cover this entire map with adventures by this coming summer. So let's talk about how we're going to make that happen. So to figure out how to grow this, let's talk about where we are as far as user-generated content platform. Just like YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Medium, all of these, there's plenty of others. There's a lot of big names out there. And at the end of the day, we're competing for attention and engagement. So how do we compete? How do we turn out to be like one of these on the fortunate side of history, instead of the 100 of other logos that none of us will ever remember? So that's where we get a little bit more Midwestern. We look at the problems to solve. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, our communities are already trying to provide this kind of content. These communities, whether they're chambers, visitors bureaus, DMOs, they lack the resources to be able to highlight, to be able to, in the proper channels really, to be able to promote their communities in a way that highlights what makes them unique and really a great option for people looking to get out and explore. So that's what we do. We help communities who are frustrated with outdated marketing solutions. We connect them with an online platform and a vibrant community of content creators. Together, we provide handcrafted adventures that genuinely connect their audience in the features that make their communities unique and memorable. So currently we have over 150 adventures from over 35 creators. And we just started selling partnership opportunities with communities in October of last year. And we're continuing to onboard communities that are searching for a better way to be able to connect with travelers. So let's talk about why we're the team to be able to bring this to market. So I've been fortunate enough to have led through 2 successful exits. I've spent the last 10 years creating and managing software teams from idea through acquisition. And Andy Vig brings over 10 years of experience at Microsoft architecting large-scale solutions while managing teams of developers. Collectively, we have over 30 years of software dev experience and over 10 years of startup experience. So now that you know a little bit about Shrpa, we'd love for you to go out and support your local communities by going on a Shrpa adventure this weekend or even tonight. And if you don't have any adventures in your community, help us to resolve that problem by creating your own adventures or sharing us with your local visitors bureaus, DMOs, and even statewide organizations that are promoting tourism. But most of all, follow our journey. Things are happening fast, and we'd love for you to join us. So as a recap, we're gaining traction quickly. With COVID, local travel is really the only travel now, and people are discovering how much they love it. And we have the experience needed to be able to put a team together to make this a success. So we'd love for you to join us as we prepare to introduce Shrpa to the rest of the world. As we noted, Minnesota loves us, and we love your help for everyone else to love us too. I want to thank you for the opportunity to tell you about Shrpa, and love to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Chris, for that presentation. I do have a question. So how are you recruiting the content creators, and then how are you compensating them for their content that they're creating?
Yes, so actually we're usually recruiting most of our content creators via Instagram. That's a pretty standard location where a lot of these travel influencers are creating content currently. Of course, everybody has the ability to create content on there, but not everybody is interested in going out to new communities and working with them to create content for them. So we're finding those people usually through Instagram and then bringing them over to our site to be able to create content there as well. And then as far as compensation, part of the subscription packages, so we have 3 different levels of subscription packages. Most of the differentiation between those levels of subscription packages is on how much content is created for the community. So then we actually take a good portion of that subscription and then deliver that to the content creators to help reimburse them for travel and all of that to be able to get to these communities and create content.
So a lot of it's people traveling to communities and learning about them and creating content, or are you doing kind of like local influencers? I feel like that's sort of what Airbnb does, is, you know, the local people that really know things to see.
Yeah, so with Airbnb experiences, that's the local guide service. So it's somebody that's guiding you through and kind of taking you through that experience. The challenge with that is that, it's limited, right? So I think there's 16 in all of Minnesota, just because you can only do that in so many communities. There's only so many people with the time to be able to guide people through. So we do this a couple of ways. We start off with the people that are really good at creating content, love traveling to communities. So these are people that have already been traveling there previously and are maybe just creating more content around that community. And so it's regional people that are creating content for people in that area. So it's not going out to far off locations that they have never been to, or maybe don't have experience with. But what that also helps with is, it is, like you said, it's a little bit of an outsider perspective to start with. The other thing that we're working on then is how do we engage that local community to then create more content? Because here's what one person is saying about how they love to experience your community. What about you? What about the rest of your community? And that's something, especially with these visitors bureaus, the destination marketing organizations that we're working with, the big thing there is, how do they engage their local community to be able to help not only to kind of let them know what they're doing to help promote travel and tourism in the community, but then also be part of that conversation and sharing their experience. Because even in the best funded visitors bureau, our destination marketing organization, we're talking about 1 or 2 people that are trying to represent sometimes hundreds of thousands of people, and you just can't get that full experience from just a few perspectives. So there's a couple of ways of outside creators and people creating from the community as well.
Hey, Chris. Yeah. Thanks for the presentation. One of the things that, this might just be noise, so feel free to dismiss it too. But one of the things I was wondering about too, as you're bringing up, especially in the context of COVID and self-guided tours, one of the things I was wondering about is there an offshoot or potential for the technology with basically college recruiting? Experience our campus, experience the surrounding town. Yeah. What are things that could really sell the community? If that makes sense, because I was in the past, I was thinking about augmented reality tours where you know.
Yep.
You could here's a famous spot, or here's what our college is known for. Even if you're walking by, you could do that. But thinking about the way you're brokering experience and content and connection, that might be a fit in a competitive recruiting market too.
Very much so. You 100% hit it on the head. So we've had conversations with some universities already, because what you're talking about there is just how you said it. It's communities. You're promoting the community. Sometimes that community is a town, and we're talking about a visitors bureau or a DMO. Sometimes that community is, so for Minnesota here, Mall of America. Mall of America is a community, right? So they have businesses and attractions that they're trying to promote just like a DMO. And sometimes it's a university. And again, those universities have so much that are available inside the walls of the communities, or inside of the walls of that community, to the community members of the university students, but then also even the surrounding communities to come and enjoy. And they're also talking to multiple different markets. So it's recruiting from the perspective of the student, it's recruiting from the perspective of the parents, and it's even recruiting of staff, of potential
Right.
university staff as well. So yes, we've had that exact conversation with a few universities here around the area. Definitely something that we're interested in and we're working towards, because yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Cool, thanks, and good luck. I appreciated the quick presentation.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Hi, Chris. This is Eric.
Eric.
Neat technology. Couple questions, because we're doing something somewhat similar, but in the trucking logistics. One of the problems we have, and I wonder how you're dealing with this. What about who's curating this, the data? I mean, what's to prevent multiple people from adding the same attraction, for example, and how do you resolve that?
Good questions. Good questions. So, the one piece, as far as multiple people adding the same location, is something that we actually encourage. The fact that there's multiple different perspectives of how to experience a location. That's one of the other advantages of it being a multiple stops, multiple locations that we're talking about. Because even if you add the same location, chances are the other stop that goes with it is probably going to be a different stop. And even if they are similar or the same stops, you're going to be experiencing them in different ways. The other thing that we highlight through the site is who the creators are. So here's the people that are creating this content, because how I experience it as a parent of two young kids versus how a retired couple might experience it versus how young college students, all very different perspectives. And so we want to have those different perspectives experiencing all of these spots. And then on the curation side, to go a little bit further on that, of anytime somebody creates content on Shrpa for the very first time, we have eyes on it before it gets to the site. So we have a review process before it goes live, where we can review it all, make sure. And usually for us, for being a small site that not a lot of people have heard about yet, it's usually about making sure that the boundaries of what type of content this is, it kind of applies, right? So it's and that's usually the issue that we have there, but it's usually never much of an issue at all, because it allows people to be able to create the right content. On the other side of it is, after you've created, then it automatically goes to the site. We have a little bit of a delay before it goes to any of our partner sites, because we actually have these visitors bureaus and DMOs have the ability to be able to show this content on their site as well. And so there's a little bit of a delay before it gets there. And that, again, just allows us to be able to do a little bit more review, editorial type of thing if need be. So. Thank you.
So I have another question too. I do a lot of traveling, and when I'm traveling, I think my first step typically is like searching YouTube for videos. I love videos. So are you able to incorporate that into your platform, or is it more so just like guides?
Photos are a little bit heavier right now. Videos is where we're getting to. The videos, we have a couple of them that feature videos, but it's not nearly as smooth. I mean, we should have it to be better. We just haven't had as much video posted there yet. And so it's more about guides and providing that context as far as how to get there, and then trying to keep the content similar with like what you should bring with, what to expect when you get there, that type of thing. 100% understand you though, as far as like what you're going for there is trying to understand the context around it, right? So like video is a great way to be able to see like, what does this look like? What's the experience going to be like? It's the same thing that we're trying to do, and we're just trying to make that possible for a lot of people to create that content, because as you know, like watching videos, it can be really challenging to create a good video, to be able to put the time into shooting a good video, editing a good video, and just putting all of that together to tell that story. So we're trying to make it approachable for everybody to create, but we are working on ways that people that can create amazing video can include that as part of it as well.
Yeah, I'd also like to add, I think there is definitely something there with connecting DMOs, CVBs to influencers. Like I definitely see that as a future of like them recruiting people to create content for them that they can share on their platform. So I haven't thought it through, but I think there is something there too. If you could be a middleman of sorts, I think that could be great.
Which is kind of how that subscription is working right now. You know, we want to get to the point where in the future, subscribing to Shrpa, it revolves more around community engagement and what we can do to help you to engage your local community to create more content. Right now, it's really heavy on that content creation. And so connecting them up with those content creators, those travel influencers, basically. So to a degree, we're almost like an agency right now for content creators and travel influencers connecting up with DMOs, because on both sides of that equation, it's really challenging. The people that love creating content, they're all about marketing, creating content. They don't have a lot of affinity to doing sales and trying to do cold calls with DMOs. And then on the other side of the equation, there's just really limited resources, both time and finances, to be able to take the time to go recruit somebody to come create content for your community. So agree with you on that.
If you could like almost filter, be like, okay, I'm a DMO, I'm looking for someone who likes hiking, you know, is a really good personality, lives within 5 hours of Iowa City. Like, I think there's definitely some business there of like being that recruiter type thing.
Yep. Agreed with it. Right now, it's somewhat part of our kickoff process with them getting content created. They fill out, basically it's a Google form. Everything that we do, we start super low tech before we start building it into our tool. But yeah, that's a lot of those things are part of that. What type of themes are we talking about? What type of content creator are we looking for this? And that's exactly the types of questions that we ask. So good points.
I got a question. So you have a multi-sided platform, right?
Yep.
Which is, I mean, congratulations. Multi-sided platforms are extremely difficult to launch. For those of you that don't know what that means is that, as he said, he's catering to the local communities, the Chamber of Commerce's, those type of organizations. He's selling to them, but he's also selling the idea to the end users, the travelers, right? Am I correct in assessing that?
Exactly.
So what that means, that's similar to credit card company where MasterCard is catering to us using the MasterCard, but also they have to cater equally to merchants to accept credit cards. And I was involved in a startup where we had a multi-sided platform, and it's extremely, extremely difficult. So what can you offer as far as advice or feedback to the group if they have a startup where they have to cater to two different customer segments that are entirely different customer segments, but they share a commonality, but you have to spend all your marketing time, your marketing budget, your resources, your development to cater to two very different customer segments. How do you balance that? That's remarkable.
Yeah. So and so the way that that's done, or the way that we've done it, I really see that there's two ways. Either one, you go really heavy for investment and you spend a ton of money, and that's just the reality of usually a content platform takes a lot of money to be able to get going, because content is king on this. You need great content, but to be able to get great content, you have to build buzz and you have to get excitement around it. And a lot of the times that just takes a lot of funds to be able to start before you get a lot of people creating content. Or the other way you can go about it, which is the way that we're going about it, is focusing on one area of that. And so, as you noted, like we have content creators, we have travelers, and then we have community. So we kind of have a three-sided marketplace here. And what we're focusing on right now is the content creators and the communities. We're not able to focus on as the travelers as much, but we know that, again, content is king on here, getting great content, and then connecting those up with the communities. That allows us to be able to build a business model that we can be able to provide enough value that we can extract some of that value out with a subscription, right? I mean, that's basic business of all you're doing is providing enough value in one place so that you can extract it out in some form of payment, right? And so that's what we're doing with the subscriptions between the communities and the content creators, and what we're able to provide as far as this platform. That allows us to be able to grow the content while also being able to monetize it and fund the company. And so that's just what we started out towards the end of last year. Before that, it was all money out the door just to be able to build it up and prove it out. But then at that point of focusing in on the communities and the creators, that's what allows us to be able to get amazing content, really focus on that, grow it throughout. We can grow it nationally that way. And then we can really double down on, for all of those communities, double down on focusing on that traveler. So it's just a matter of breaking those things down.
Interesting. Yeah, that's congratulations, Alex. So that's not easy to do. So
yeah, it's a challenging thing. And there's a lot of ways that this can be, we can run into hiccups through this. We've been fortunate, with Minnesota here, we've gotten a great connection with Explore Minnesota. So we've been able to spread the word throughout the rest of the state. And we're trying to do the same thing with Wisconsin and even getting into Iowa as well. So, those are really the next stages for us, is to be able to help spread that service throughout the region, and see what we can do from there.
Do you have like a one pager that you could share with like DMOs or whatever to get them on board? Like if I were to be like, hey, think Iowa City, you should consider this. Do you have a resource like that?
Yeah, actually, I'll throw the link in here for the community side of it. That is something that the challenge with that is getting to let them know kind of what we do to a degree, but then also getting to that conversation. We're still early enough that we need to have a lot of conversations with communities. And so being able to get in front of them, find out about their specific needs. For all of these communities, it's a budget, resources, and just a lack of bandwidth is really what everybody's running into as far as budget, staff, and resources. And so that's where we're trying to address those with making it easier for people to create good content, and then engage their community to be able to augment that content. So so it's to a degree, there's a certain amount that we can provide right up front to kind of let them know this is what we do. And then at that point, we need to sit down and have a conversation and get through that.
Yeah, I work really closely with the tourism group here, so that's why I'm,
Oh, perfect.
these questions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we've like I said, we've talked to a group in Northeast Iowa. So there's the Northeast Iowa Tourism Association that does 7 counties up in the Decorah, Iowa area. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's as far into Iowa as we've gotten so far. But we'd love to be able to grow further into Iowa as well. That's something that, and what's worked out well for us is, again, being able to connect individually with communities to see what their needs are, but then being able to take that to go back to the kind of the state level. That's what we're currently doing in Wisconsin, is to be able to get back to that state level, what we're doing here with Explore Minnesota, to then be able to spread it to the entire state.
Very nice. In the interest of time, since we're almost at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to ask our traditional final question. What can we as the community do to help you?
Just exactly that conversation that Liz was just bringing up there. Having conversations with anybody that's in tourism to help spread the word a little bit. Even like, as I was mentioning earlier as well, though, if there's content that you would love to be able to share about your local community, that's something that we want more people to be able to highlight their local community. It's user-generated content. Go out there and create that. And if you have, outside of both of those, if you have any feedback, any advice, any ideas, we're open to conversations. We're still a startup. We're 3 people strong right now, but we have more need for ideas and feedback, and we'd love any feedback we can get.
Very nice, and hopefully you'll be able to, someday in the future when we have everything back open, you'll be able to make it down to Iowa City in person and check out some of this stuff. Cool. It looks like you put your contact info in the chat. It's chris@shrpa.com. So if you want to connect with Chris afterwards, use that. There's also a link in there for the community intro one pager that we were talking about. So